You're easily replaceable, Chris. Men line up for me. I'm every man's dream, just look at me. Amanda Wilson stood in our kitchen, one hand on her hip, the other holding her phone like a weapon. The overhead light caught the diamond on her finger, the ring I'd saved 6 months to buy 7 years ago. She tilted her head, waiting for me to respond, to fight back, to beg. I didn't. I just stood there by the sink, dish towel in my hands, watching the woman I'd married transform into someone I didn't recognize. Her lips were painted that dark red she knew I hated. Her dress cost more than our mortgage payment. And her eyes, God, her eyes, held nothing but contempt. Did you hear me? She snapped. I heard her. I'd been hearing variations of this speech for months now. Ever since her promotion at the marketing firm. Ever since she started coming home at midnight smelling like expensive cologne that wasn't mine. Ever since she stopped laughing at my jokes and started laughing at me. I heard you, I said quietly. And? I folded the towel, set it on the counter, and looked at her one last time. Really looked. Searching for the girl who'd cried happy tears when I proposed at that little coffee shop in Seattle. The woman who used to fall asleep on my shoulder during movies. The person who'd once whispered, "You're my home, Christopher Wilson." She wasn't there anymore. I hope you're right, I said, turning toward the bedroom. I hope they do line up for you, Amanda. I really do. Her voice followed me down the hallway. Don't you dare walk away from me. Chris. But I kept walking. Because some things once said can't be unsaid. And some doors once closed should stay that way. Please, before I continue, kindly like, share and subscribe for more interesting videos. I didn't sleep that night. Couldn't. I sat in the garage with the light off, running my palm across the oak chair I'd been building for our 5th anniversary. 5 years. She'd forgotten completely. Came home at 11 that night with Jessica and Stephanie, laughing about some guy at the bar who'd bought them drinks. I'd been sitting at the kitchen table with takeout Chinese and a card I'd written by hand. She never even asked why I was still awake. My phone buzzed on the workbench. 17 missed calls from Amanda. 3 voicemails I wouldn't listen to. I picked up the phone and stared at our wedding photo, my lock screen for 7 years. Amanda in that simple white dress from David's bridal, the one she'd loved until her friends told her it looked cheap. Me in my dad's old suit, grinning like I'd won the lottery. Maybe I had once. I opened my messages and typed to my brother Marcus, "Can I crash at your place for a while?" The 3 dots appeared immediately. Marcus lived in Portland, ran a construction company, never asked stupid questions. Always. What happened? I started typing the truth, deleted it, tried again. How do you explain that your wife doesn't see you anymore? That you've become furniture in your own house? That the woman you'd die for just told you she could replace you by tomorrow? I think my marriage is over. Packing a room for you now. Drive safe, little brother. I looked around the garage. 7 years of marriage lived in this space. The table saw I'd bought with my first bonus. The half-finished bookshelf for the baby we talked about having someday. The toolbox my father gave me before he died, back when Amanda used to hold my hand at his hospital bedside. I pulled my old duffel bag from the shelf and started packing. I left at 4:47 a.m. I know because I watched the clock on the dashboard change as I backed out of the driveway. The house was dark except for our bedroom window. Amanda had finally gone to sleep, probably assuming I'd come crawling back like I always did after our fights. But this wasn't a fight. Fights end. Fights get resolved. This was something else entirely, something final. I'd packed light. Clothes, toiletries, my father's watch, the leather journal my mom gave me in high school. I left the furniture, the TV, the kitchen gadgets Amanda had insisted we needed. Material things. Replaceable things. I almost left my wedding ring on the counter. Almost. But at the last second I'd slipped it into my pocket. Not because I wanted to keep it. Because leaving it there felt too dramatic, too much like the movies Amanda loved where the betrayed spouse makes a grand exit with orchestrated music. I didn't want drama. I wanted peace. The drive to Portland took 4 hours. I stopped once for gas and coffee at a rest stop outside Olympia. The kid behind the counter, couldn't have been older than 19, asked if I was okay. Yeah, I lied. Just tired. He nodded, but his eyes said he knew better. Maybe he'd seen that look before. The look of a man who just walked away from everything he'd built. My phone buzzed constantly for the first 2 hours. Calls, texts, voicemails. I turned it face down on the passenger seat and focused on the road. The sun came up somewhere near Tacoma, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Amanda used to love sunrises. We'd wake up early on weekends just to watch them together. That felt like a lifetime ago. Marcus was waiting on his porch when I pulled up, 2 mugs of coffee already in his hands. Marcus handed me the coffee without a word. We sat on his porch steps, watching his neighborhood wake up. A jogger passed. A dog barked somewhere. Normal people living normal lives while mine crumbled 3 hours south. "You want to talk about it?" Marcus finally asked. "Not really." "Fair enough." He sipped his coffee. "Guest room's yours. Stay as long as you need." I nodded, grateful he wasn't pushing. Marcus had been divorced 4 years ago. He understood that sometimes you just need silence and space to figure out who you are without the person who defined you. "I've got work Monday if you want it," he said. "Construction. Good money, hard work. Keeps your mind busy." "I don't know anything about construction." "You know carpentry. You're good with your hands. That's half the battle." He looked at me sideways. "Plus, you need something to do besides sit in that room and replay whatever happened." He was right. I could already feel it starting. The loop of Amanda's words, the look on her face, the way she dismissed 7 years like they meant nothing. "Okay," I said. "I'll take the work." "Good." Marcus stood, stretching. "Fair warning though, my foreman's intense. Doesn't tolerate lazy. But if you show up and do the work, she'll respect you." "She?" Marcus grinned. "Elena Rodriguez. Best architect I've ever worked with. Tough as nails, twice as sharp. You'll like her." I couldn't imagine liking anyone right now. But I nodded anyway. My phone buzzed again. I pulled it out. 43 missed calls. 12 voicemails. And one text from Amanda that made my stomach turn. "Stop being childish and come home. We need to talk about this like adults." Like adults. As if I was the one being childish. As if I was the one who'd said her husband was replaceable. I blocked her number. Then her Instagram. Then her Facebook. One by one, I erased her digital presence from my life. Marcus noticed. Clean break. Only kind worth having. I sent the divorce papers 2 weeks later. No drama, no demands. Just a simple uncontested dissolution with fair division of assets. My lawyer, a woman Marcus recommended, had looked at me with something like pity when I told her I didn't want the house, the savings, or anything Amanda might fight for. "Mr. Wilson, you're entitled to half of everything. I just want out." She'd sighed but drawn up the papers anyway. I signed them in Marcus's kitchen on a Tuesday morning, my hand shaking slightly as I wrote my name. 7 years reduced to 14 pages of legal jargon. I included a note. Short. Simple. "I'm not replaceable, Amanda. I'm just done being treated like I am. I hope you find what you're looking for." I mailed it certified, then tried to forget about it. Work helped. God, work helped. Marcus put me on a crew framing a new development in northeast Portland. The labor was brutal, 10-hour days swinging hammers, hauling lumber, pouring foundations. My body ached in ways I didn't know were possible. But the pain was clean. Honest. Different from the pain of watching your marriage die in slow motion. The crew was good people. Didn't ask questions when I showed up that first Monday with dark circles under my eyes. Just handed me a tool belt and put me to work. That's where I met her. Elena Rodriguez showed up on day 3 with blueprints and a tablet, her dark hair pulled back in a practical ponytail. She wore jeans, work boots, and a flannel shirt that had seen better days. No makeup. No pretense. She walked the site like she owned it, because in a way she did. Every beam, every wall, every window was hers. "You're the Finnish carpenter Marcus mentioned?" she asked, extending her hand. "Christopher Wilson." Her grip was firm. "Elena. I need someone who actually gives a damn about details. Most contractors just want to slap it together and move on." "Details matter," I said. She smiled. "We're going to get along just fine." Amanda posted the photo 3 days after receiving the divorce papers. I didn't see it, I'd blocked her, but Marcus's girlfriend Sarah showed me during a barbecue at their house. "Is this your ex?" Sarah asked, holding up her phone. There was Amanda in a red dress I'd never seen, cocktail in hand, caption reading, "New chapter. Better things ahead. Kiss mark." 847 likes. I handed the phone back. "Yeah, that's her." "She looks desperate," Sarah said bluntly. "Nobody posts stuff like that unless they're trying to convince themselves they're okay." Maybe. Or maybe Amanda really was fine. Maybe she'd already found one of those men she claimed were lining up. Maybe I was already forgotten. The thought should have hurt. Instead I felt nothing. Just a hollow space where 7 years used to live. Elena caught me staring into space that afternoon on the job site. We were installing crown molding in what would become someone's master bedroom. "You good?" she asked. "Yeah. Sorry. Just distracted." "Woman trouble?" I laughed bitterly. Is it that obvious? You've got that look. I had it 2 years ago when my ex-husband decided his secretary was more interesting than his family. She measured a corner, marked it with her pencil. Want some unsolicited advice? Sure. Whatever you're thinking about, stop. She's not thinking about you. She's too busy trying to make you think she's not thinking about you. The accuracy hit like a hammer. How do you know? Because that's what insecure people do. They perform. They post. They pretend. Elena looked at me directly. Secure people? They just move on. Is that what you did? Eventually. Took a while though. Had to figure out who I was without him first. How long? She smiled sadly. Still figuring it out. But I'm closer than I was yesterday. Elena and I started having coffee on job sites. Nothing planned, just two people taking breaks at the same time, sitting on stacks of lumber talking about everything except the things that hurt. She told me about her daughter Sophia, 7 years old, obsessed with dinosaurs and macaroni art. About her ex-husband who paid child support but rarely showed up for visits. About architecture school and the sexism she'd fought through to earn respect in a male-dominated field. I told her about my dad's woodworking shop, how I'd spent every weekend of my childhood learning to see the grain in wood, to understand how things fit together. About Amanda, slowly at first, then more openly. About feeling invisible in my own marriage. You weren't invisible, Elena said one afternoon. You were just with someone who refused to see you. What's the difference? The difference is you. You're still here. Still solid. Still worth seeing. Something shifted in my chest. Not romantic, not yet. Just a recognition. Someone saw me. Really saw me. Not as an accessory or a provider or a replacement. Just as Christopher. We started having lunch together. Then dinner after long days on site. Just as friends, we told ourselves. Two people who understood what it meant to rebuild after everything fell apart. But I'd catch myself noticing things. The way Elena laughed with her whole body. How she explained architectural concepts with her hands, painting pictures in the air. The kindness in her voice when she talked to her daughter on the phone. One evening at a tiny Italian restaurant Marcus recommended, I laughed at something Elena said, really laughed, and she stopped mid-sentence. What? She asked, grinning. Nothing. I forgot what this felt like. What? Being seen. Elena reached across the table and squeezed my hand. Her touch was warm, grounding. You deserve to be seen, Chris. Meanwhile, 3 hours south, Amanda's perfect life was crumbling. The dates were endless and empty. Jason, the personal trainer with abs and no personality. Derek, the lawyer who talked only about himself. Michael, the entrepreneur who expected her to sleep with him by date 2. She'd smile through dinners, laugh at jokes that weren't funny, pose for photos she'd post online. But alone in her condo, our old condo though I'd signed it over completely, she'd stare at the ceiling and wonder why nothing felt right. Her friends noticed. Stephanie asked over brunch, "Are you sure you're okay? You seem off." "I'm fine," Amanda insisted. "Better than fine. I'm free." But freedom felt like loneliness. Independence felt like abandonment. And every night she'd scroll through old photos of us, ones she couldn't bring herself to delete. There was Christopher at Pike Place Market, holding flowers he'd bought me. Christopher on our honeymoon in Hawaii, sun-kissed and happy. Christopher in the garage, covered in sawdust, grinning at something I'd said. When had she stopped seeing him? When had routine become contempt? When had comfortable become boring? Her mother called one Sunday. "Amanda, honey, your father and I are worried about you." "Why does everyone keep saying that?" "Because you're not yourself. You're posting all these photos, going out constantly, but you don't sound happy." "I am happy, Mom." "Are you?" "Because happiness doesn't usually need an audience." Amanda hung up, angry. But the words lingered. That night, she drove past Marcus's house. Just to see. Just to know. Christopher's truck sat in the driveway, and next to it, a sensible Honda Accord with a child's car seat visible in the back window. Her hands gripped the steering wheel until her knuckles turned white. He'd moved on. Actually moved on. And she was still stuck in neutral, pretending to race forward. Amanda hired the investigator 3 months after I'd left. She told herself it was just to check that I was okay, that the divorce settlement was fair, that I wasn't hiding assets. But really she needed to know if I was hurting like she was. The report arrived in a manila envelope on a Thursday. She opened it at her kitchen counter with shaking hands. Christopher Wilson, 34. Currently residing in Portland, Oregon. Employed by Marcus Wilson Construction. Relationship status. Dating Elena Rodriguez, 37, architect. Ms. Rodriguez has a 7-year-old daughter from previous marriage. Subject appears stable, employed, and in good health. There were photos. Me at a park pushing a little girl on a swing. Me and Elena holding hands at a farmer's market, her laughing at something I'd said. Me installing a fence in someone's backyard, sweaty and smiling, looking more alive than I'd looked in years. Amanda stared at the photos for 20 minutes. Then she swept them off the counter and started crying, deep, ugly sobs that shook her entire body. Not because she missed me. She did, but that wasn't why she was crying. She was crying because she'd thrown away something real for something shiny. She'd traded love for attention, partnership for performance. And now I was happy, genuinely, completely happy, with someone who wasn't her. She'd been right that day in the kitchen. I was replaceable. She just never imagined she'd be replaceable too. Her phone buzzed. A text from Derek, "Dinner tonight?" She deleted it without responding. Amanda showed up at the construction site on a Friday afternoon. I was working on trim details for a custom home, Elena beside me reviewing measurements. We developed an easy rhythm. She'd design, I'd build, and somehow it all came together perfectly. Chris. That voice. I turned, and there was Amanda looking somehow smaller than I remembered. She wore jeans and a sweater, casual, unlike her usual designer everything. Her makeup was smeared slightly, like she'd been crying. Amanda. What are you doing here? I need to talk to you. Elena glanced at me, squeezed my shoulder once, then walked away to give us privacy. I appreciated that about her. She understood boundaries. Amanda stepped closer. Chris, I made a mistake. A huge mistake. I was cruel and stupid, and I want you to come home. I set down my tools. Amanda, that's not my home anymore. But we were married. We were. Past tense. I kept my voice gentle, not angry. Anger required caring, and I'd run out of that months ago. You told me I was replaceable. So I let you replace me. I didn't mean it. I was angry. You meant it, I interrupted. Maybe not in that exact moment, but you'd been thinking it for months. Every time you came home late. Every time you looked through me instead of at me. Every time you chose your phone over our conversation. Her eyes filled with tears. So that's it? You're just done? I looked at her, really looked at her, and remembered the girl I'd married. The one who used to sing off-key in the shower. Who'd surprise me with lunch at work. Who'd curl up in my lap during thunderstorms because they scared her. That girl was gone. Maybe she'd been gone for years and I'd just been too in love to notice. I hope you find what you're looking for, Amanda, I said quietly. I really do. But it's not me. It never was. Chris, please? Goodbye, Amanda. I walked back to the house, back to Elena, back to the life I'd built from the rubble of the old one. Amanda stood there for a long time. I watched her through the window. Eventually she got in her car and drove away. I felt Elena's hand slip into mine. You okay? Yeah, I said and meant it. I really am. Amanda sat in her condo, smaller now after selling the house she couldn't afford alone, scrolling through Instagram. Her feed was still full of carefully curated photos, but the engagement had dried up. 14 likes on her latest post. Her friends had moved on, building lives while she stayed stuck in performance mode. The dates had stopped months ago. Turns out, being every man's dream only lasted until they realized there was nothing beneath the surface. Just insecurity wrapped in designer labels. Her phone buzzed. A Facebook notification. Christopher Wilson is now married to Elena Rodriguez. Her thumb hovered over the notification. She shouldn't look. She knew she shouldn't. She looked anyway. The photo showed Christopher in a simple gray suit, Elena in an elegant white dress, and a little girl between them in a flower girl outfit, holding both their hands. They stood in front of a small craftsman house with a garden. They looked happy. Not Instagram happy. Actually happy. The caption read, "Today I married my best friend and officially became Sophia's dad. Life doesn't get better than this." 312 comments. All genuine. All celebrating something real. Amanda closed the app and stared at the ceiling of her empty condo. The silence was deafening. She'd gotten everything she thought she wanted. Freedom to date, attention from strangers, no one to answer to. But she'd never felt more alone. Her reflection caught in the dark TV screen. She looked tired. Used up. Hollow. She'd been right that day. Christopher was replaceable. She just hadn't realized she was too. I stood in the backyard of the house Elena and I had designed together. A small craftsman with a wraparound porch and a workshop out back where I built furniture on weekends. Sophia's treehouse sat in the old oak tree half-finished, waiting for Sunday. Dad. Dad, come look. Sophia called from the garden, her hands covered in dirt. She'd started calling me Dad 6 months ago. Every time still made my chest tight with gratitude. What did you find, kiddo? A huge worm. Like, seriously huge. I walked over, crouched down beside her. She held up the worm with the kind of reverence only 7-year-olds possess. That's a big one, I agreed. Maybe we should name him. Can we name him Christopher Jr.? I laughed. I think that worm deserves better than being named after me. Elena appeared on the porch, wedding dress replaced with jeans and one of my old flannel shirts. You two going to stare at that worm all day, or are we cutting the cake? Cake. Sophia dropped the worm gently and ran toward the house. Elena walked over, wrapped her arms around my waist from behind. Happy. More than I ever thought possible. Good. You deserve it. I turned to face her, brushed a strand of hair from her face. We both do. Inside, our families waited, Marcus and Sarah, Elena's parents, my mom who'd flown in from Florida. Small. Intimate. Real. This was what love looked like. Not performance. Not Instagram captions. Just showing up every day and choosing each other. Seeing each other. Valuing each other. I thought about Amanda sometimes. Not with anger anymore. Maybe with sadness for what she'd lost, for what she'd thrown away chasing something that didn't exist. But mostly I thought about how her cruelty had freed me. How being replaced had forced me to discover I was irreplaceable, just not to her. Sophia grabbed my hand. Come on, Dad. Mom says you have to cut the cake with her. Wouldn't miss it, I said, letting her pull me toward the house, toward Elena, toward this beautiful life I'd built from the ashes of the old one. Because here's what I'd learned. True revenge isn't anger or bitterness or proving someone wrong. True revenge is peace. It's building something better. It's being so genuinely happy that you forget to care whether they notice. And I'd forgotten completely.